Thank you so much for joining today. I'm Sarah Chapman, and I'm the Executive Director of the nonprofit Media Burn Archive, which is based in Chicago in the United States. Media Burn collects, produces, and distributes documentary video created by artists, activists, and community groups. Our mission is to use archival media to deepen context and encourage critical thought through social justice lens. This event is part of our ongoing free series called Virtual Talks with Video Activists. Our next event will be on December 3rd, and it will be a discussion with Jacqueline Stewart from the Southside Home Movie Project at the University of Chicago, along with filmmaker Ashley O'Shea, whose film Unapologetic is out now via Cartemquin Films. Unapologetic is a deep look into the movement for Black lives in Chicago, from the police murder of Rekia Boyd and Laquan McDonald to the election of Mayor Lori Lightfoot. They will discuss the way archives and filmmakers can partner for social impact documentaries and the act of filmmaking as a way to insert marginalized communities into the archive and more. Finally, if you enjoy this event and support the work that Media Burn and Engage Media are doing, please donate what you can. You can simply text Media Burn to 44321, and you'll receive a link to quickly and securely donate. All donations made in conjunction with this event will be shared with Engage Media. Now, I am pleased to introduce King Katoy and Egbert Witz of Engage Media. Founded in 2005, Engage Media is a nonprofit media, technology, and culture organization based in the Asia Pacific. One of its key activity areas is video for change, or the use of video as an approach to support social movements, document rights violations, raise awareness, and share new knowledge on social or environmental issues. Past and present challenges like growing social inequality, human rights offenses, religious and racial intolerance, environmental plunder, and now a pandemic make it a critical moment to further develop the video for change field. One of the major steps to be able to accomplish this is for filmmakers and video activists to have a strong grasp of impact production. So King Katoy is the video lead of Engage Media. He is an independent documentary filmmaker and alternative media practitioner based in the Philippines. Egbert Witz is the co-editor of the Video for Change Impact Toolkit and has been working with affected communities in Indonesia using both video and other creative methodologies for nearly 15 years. And with that, I think that King is going to start his introduction.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for inviting us, and big thanks for that very nice introduction. I'm here with my colleague from Engage Media, Egbert. Before we start, I think, let me try to share my screen. Take over for a bit, Egbert.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Again, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Media Burn, for organizing this event. As you said, I'm in Indonesia. I'm originally from the Netherlands, but I've been living in Indonesia for over 15 years now. So yeah, more and more becoming Indonesian, I guess. And yeah, looking forward to sharing with you all a little bit about the work that we're doing here in the Asia Pacific, especially focusing on video for change. Yeah, and just looking forward to the conversation and questions that you have, but we'll present a little bit first ourselves. I see, King, that you got everything working there.
Yep, yeah. Let me just talk a bit more about the other programs of Engage Media. Sarah's mentioned, of course, we do a lot of work with Video for Change, but we are also involved in other key areas. So Engage Media was founded in 2005. So for the past many years, we've worked with independent filmmakers, journalists, technologists, campaigners, and social movements to generate wider audiences for, stories for social change, and to try to intervene in the public discourse and move people to action. So aside from Video for Change, we also do work about digital rights and open technology. Later, Egbert and I will share more extensively about our Video for Change work. So for now, allow me to share briefly about our work in digital rights and open technology. So for digital rights, for the past many years now, we're trying our best to build a regional information hub for digital rights. I guess it's something that is still quite new here in the region. And so along with that, we've been producing bi-monthly digital rights podcast. We cover issues such as artificial intelligence. I believe in the first world, there's been a lot of discussion about this. But here in the global south, considering many of us will be affected with AI, there isn't really much discussions, and we're trying to cover that area. And of course, we also do a lot of work with online disinformation and helping social movements, be aware of, how they can use more secure apps, how to communicate securely and safely, etc. And then also for open technology, we try our best to promote the use and understanding of open and secure technologies. So the video platform that we have, which is currently hosted at video.engagemedia.org, I think that video platform exemplifies our work in this area. So we host about 4,000 social advocacy videos from the Asia Pacific region. So films from West Papua and the struggle of the indigenous peoples for self-determination, can be found in the video in our site. Films on palm oil plantations, human rights and labor films from the Philippines, newsreels about significant protest actions in Thailand and Malaysia, to mention some, are hosted in the site. Um, so the one that we have right now is called Media CMS, or Media Content Management System. It is the platform's second iteration. So we started this platform 2005 um, through gatherings by activists and videographers who were largely involved with in the media movement that time. I don't know if you guys remember that. So they wanted to develop a platform, and EngageMedia.org back in 2005, that video platform was the output of the collaboration of video activists and technologists. So the one we have right now is the second iteration. It's a Django-based content management system for hosting videos. We've soft launched it a couple of months ago, but some finalizations with the branding are still ongoing. So we tend to be very quiet about the name. So right now we're calling it Engage Video. um, at some point, the URL will change, but we're talking about in 1 or 2 weeks here. But
Yeah.
later on, once it's up, I'll be happy to send the links to you guys. But basically, yes. Yeah, we have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Vimeo, but I guess Media CMS, or the platform that we have right now, is a reminder to all that an open technology platform for video sites is possible. It may not be as popular, but yep, it's an alternative out there. So in case you have works about Asia and Pacific, of course, we do encourage you to set up an account and upload it in the site. And we do those works, using capacity building and, fostering and mobilizing networks. So we demonstrate our work in digital rights and open technology and video for change through workshop and through starting networks here in the Asia Pacific. So for capacity building, so yep, that's me, and that's Egbert in different occasions. So through capacity building skills in video production, distribution, and engagement, we hope to amplify the impact of campaigners and activists and media makers here in the Asia Pacific. So for network building, I guess we've been we've convened a number of networks through the years, but I would like to share Coconut. So Coconut is connecting communities and networks. So we co-convened it with the Association of Progressive Communications. So basically, the Coconut Digital Rights Camp, it enhances the digital rights movement here in the Asia Pacific, providing change makers in the regions a space where they can network, share their experiences, and co-create solutions to address their collective challenges. So the past 3 years, we've organized two coconut camps, one held in Indonesia and last year here in the Philippines. So we utilized the open space methodology in running the camps. It was attended by technologists, human rights campaigners, activists, artists, and filmmakers. So this is an ongoing thing, from the camp. Now we have a platform called coconut.social. That's the website, but there are also other online platforms where the participants of these camps, share stories, share current campaigns, help each other with signing petitions, and occasionally hold meetings, online meetings like this to continue the discussion that was started in the digital rights camp. And of course, Egbert later will talk about the other network that we've set up, which is the Video for Change network. But there'll be more on that later. So, yep, those are the other programs and other work that we do in Engage Media. So, if there are no questions or clarifications, then perhaps we'll move on to the
I mean, I just
main
have like
section. Yep.
one question. Being in the same situation, we launched our video website in like 2005, I think, and we're independent. I realize it's no small task for you to have launched this video platform. It's like it's a huge deal, and it's a huge thing you did. And I was just wondering, like, how you managed to accomplish it. Do you just have a lot of developers who are sort of doing it in house for you, or did you like get a lot of money in order to like pay some developers, or like how did you make that all happen?
Well, our development team is quite small. You'll be surprised. About 2 to 4 people. There's one person who's chiefly in charge with this, and of course, we got funding to be able to do this. So basically, we were able to get some funding, and the idea for that is Media CMS wasn't originally open tech, though it's based on technologies that are open tech. Initially, it wasn't, but I guess we made sure that with that small funding that we got, to make sure that it'll be open technology. So some small arrangements with the licensing are ongoing, but like the previous platform that we had, Media CMS will surely be open tech. So meaning organizations and initiatives like Media Burn will be able to maximize this in the future. But that's true. I mean, you really need certain funding to be able to continue with it because it's really rather technical. I mean, I wish there were more activists and technologists who are willing to do this kind of work, really free. But, technologists and even those who are progressive also need to make a living, and it takes time. So yeah, for Media CMS, I joined the Engage Media 2.5 years ago. So the last year, I think, was really much discussion about how to develop the platform. I wish it was faster, but I guess those are certain limitations that we have right now. Because yeah, like I mentioned, it's a small team. But yes, it's really it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge, for everyone who doesn't realize just what a feat it was for you to get that going as early as in the mid 2000s, because I mean, we were facing the same thing. There were no established tools. Our developers built every single element from scratch. There was no just like put it on YouTube and you embed it or something like that. So I'm really impressed that you managed to do that so early.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, from the stories of the founders, they didn't really know about YouTube back then. Um, the video activists and technologists were doing hackathons and all that to develop the platform, and then boom, the next day, YouTube was out there. So at some point, they really didn't know. Yes.
Do
Any
you have,
other questions?
do you have any user statistics of who or how often the videos are viewed and things like that that you have on your site?
Yes, ma'am. We do have that information. Um, on the average, we do get a few thousand views. Um, it's I'm a video for change practitioner, so I also do upload a lot of videos to YouTube and Facebook in my other alternative media practice. It's not the same. Of course, there'll be more. There can probably more be. You can probably have more views in Facebook because I guess yep, there are page subscribers to your videos are kind of more easy with Facebook. But I would say that it's comparable to YouTube or Vimeo. The number of views, if you have particular works uploaded in Vimeo or YouTube, you can probably have the same kind of engagement with Engage Video, and with that I'm kind of happy already. I mean, being able to have those number of views that are in comparison to YouTube or Vimeo.
And the website, just to add on to King, also offers the functionality that once your video is in there, you can then embed it in your own website. It has the little screen in screen, so you can watch it and then you click out and and continue browsing while looking. So it has none of those nice functionalities that the corporate ones also have. So in that sense, I agree with King here. It's almost on par level with. With YouTube and the likes, except that we don't have a massive user base. That is, that is a big difference.
Yeah, and encoding is really good. So each time I try to promote the platform to my friends, I always say that it's comparable to Vimeo. If you're really very particular with video quality, the platform that we have right now, the developers were very successful in making sure that the encoding side of the platform works well, and it really does.
And so users, anyone can submit to it, or is it sort of curated? You invite filmmakers who are working in relevant fields?
um, as long as the video is about Asia and the Pacific, and of course, there are angles around social change and environmental change, then everyone can set up an account and upload videos. At the moment, it's moderated. We're hoping that in the next few months, um, trusted filmmakers and groups will be able to upload on the fly, because as you imagine, we also do receive a lot of spam, and we don't have a big team of cleaners like Facebook does or YouTube does. So in that sense, there is really moderation. There's a bit of a delay. It's not like can publish on the fly, but I guess that's how it is for a small team that we have. So I'm like doing other things as well for the organization, but I'm also the one moderating. So there's really a bit of delay, along with two or three other people.
Eleanor asks, what's the relationship with Video for Change?
Yes, of course. this media CMS and open technology, these are the opportunities that we manage to, in a way, integrate our core programs. So, video, engage video, the platform, it's a very fine example of that, of, being able to integrate video for change with another program that we have. So it's really, yeah, it's really tightly integrated.
And I think Egbert's going to talk about that a lot more later on too, the video for change.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I won't specifically go into the role of the video platform, but yeah, it will become clear why having such a platform is an important aspect of the video for change practice as we see it. Yeah.
So if there are no questions, let's jump right into, yep, main section of our discussion, which is video for change. So we define video for change as the use of video as a, as a tool or as a catalyst to support social movements, document rights violations, raise awareness, and share new knowledge on social and environmental issues, or to otherwise contribute to social change. So this definition emerged out of the convenings of the Video for Change network and academic research spearheaded by EngageMedia through the years. Um, I guess a nice way to illustrate this would be this nice visualization by Fledging Fund. So in here you see, from a story, it triples into the film's effect on, let's say, government policies, organizations, and communities. But basically, yep, that's it. I mean, videos that are used to support social movements, document rights violations, and something used for social issues and influence social change. Egbert will be talking more about this later, but basically, what differentiates Video for Change is that there's a holistic understanding of what impact is. I guess in most circumstances, filmmakers and other media makers will focus more about the production only, but in Video for Change, we also give importance to the process. And part of those process would be, planning, capacity building, evaluation, So it doesn't only revolve around the product or the film itself. So Video for Change activities, like I mentioned, it includes research and planning, capacity building, the obvious filming and production, distribution and engagement, and of course, evaluation. It can have various approaches. So participatory and community video can be an approach for Video for Change. Social documentary videos, like the one that we'll be watching in a few. Citizen journalism, of course, witnessing video is also important. One of our partners based there in the US, Witness, of course, started after the recording of that very brutal beating of an African American man back in the 1990s, and from there, I mean, there were a lot of discussions about racial inequality that, actually during that time, I'm sure, I mean, the LA riots happened because of those witnessing videos. Then, of course, communication for development. This is quite prevalent in the global South, how video can be used in agricultural communities and the likes. So memes, mashups, curations of videos that centered around video for change. Of course, the kind of work that you do in Media Burn, video archiving, oral testimonies, of course, film festivals, and currently, interactive and immersive video, which is becoming popular right now. So basically, what's important in the approach is that there should be two things in the approach. Of course, the first practice, there should be an emphasis on the broad and holistic understanding of impact. Like I said, it shouldn't only revolve around the film itself, or let's say likes and views, and those momentary things that happen when you upload videos online. And of course, it's also important that the change happens bottom up. So the role of grassroots movement in change making is important. And that also part of that is that video for change practitioners work towards longer term gains that seek positive and sustainable social change. So likes and views and shares, those momentary things are isn't are not enough in video for change. And I guess lastly, the most important aspect of video for change is co-creation. I guess this is one of the main differences of this field as compared to traditional documentary approaches or journalistic works. Though more and more feature documentaries are having impact campaigns. Currently, I mean, that's the buzzword for documentary filmmaking these days. But with Video for Change, we've always said that it's always there. Co-creation is important. So it's not like, you're a news team that goes to a community, like film the flooding, and after that, it's finished. In Video for Change, it isn't like that. And I guess to segue to the video that we're going to watch. So with shooting COVID-19, yep, Engage Media isn't a news agency. So we don't produce media film and do pitches internally and then it will be made into video. It doesn't really happen that way. So the videos are basically based on the needs of our partners and existing programs in the organization. So for this video, there was an opportunity to make something in line with our Video for Change program. Basically, we wanted to know how video activists are doing their work despite COVID. And this was filmed during the time of the hardest lockdowns here in Metro Manila. And for collaboration with the communities, basically the context was during this time, or like a week before the filming of this video, um, there was an actual arrest in this community because there was a spontaneous protest action in that urban poor community. Basically, the people were already feeling the brunt of the hard lockdowns, and most of the people in this community were street sellers. Doing basically menial work in the city. And because of the lockdown, they're having trouble, getting food and having money. So there was a protest, spontaneous protest action. Some politicians visited the community, and some of the people decided to write their calls in pieces of papers. And the police interpreted that as a rally, which is illegal, or which was declared illegal during that time. And a lot of people were arrested. At the same time, government paid trolls that are present in the online media were quick to vilify the community and say that these people are super spreaders of COVID and all that. So I felt there was a certain responsibility on my end because I've worked with this community for a long time. And I wanted to, aside from filming the protagonist, I wanted to make sure that the actual life in the community or what happens in there is also put into video. So the opportunity of filming someone filming in the community, I took that as an opportunity to, screen the video. Of course, offline screenings were rather difficult in the communities, but there were efforts by community activists to also screen this video in their cell phones and all that. And the past months, a lot of online film festivals happened here in the Philippines. And aside from also just putting it in our website, I took the opportunity to really make sure that this short documentary is included in numerous film programs about COVID here in the Philippines. So yep, I guess that's a bit about the film. And let's screen it. And if you have questions about COVID and all that and how things are in the Philippines at the moment, we can talk about it after the film.
My orders are sa pulis pati military, pati mga barangay, na pagka ginulo at nagkaroon ng okasyon na lumaban at ang buhay ninyo ay nalagay sa alanganin, shoot them dead.
Sa totoo, kung pwede lang talaga magsistay ako personally sa bahay instead na lumabas at mag-shoot. Pero sa kalagayan ngayon, ang information ay controlled lang ng iilan. So kapag wala ang mga alternative media, ay walang check and balances na nagaganap. That's why we're going out of our homes para alamin tong mga stories na to, yung mga stories na hindi naman sinusundan ng mga malalaking korporasyong media.
Media personnel shall be allowed to travel within the quarantine area provided that within 72 hours from the issuance of this memorandum, media personnel intending to travel within the quarantine area shall secure an identification card from the Presidential Communications Operations Office.
Actually, kalokohan yun parang kailangan mong pa-accredit sa kanila ibig sabihin sila lang yung namimili ng kung sinong pwede. Pero despite ng in protest, nag-file pa rin kami ng accreditation. Hanggang ngayon hinihintay pa rin namin nila.
Export-oriented industries shall remain operational subject.
Bago kami pumunta ron, may nag-text na sa amin na humigpit nga yung area kasi nagkaroon ng positive sa lugar. Ang So, nung nalaman namin na positive, pinag-usapan namin, diniscuss namin kung tutuloy ba doon sa area or hindi. Nag-decide kami na tumuloy kahit na kami ay kinakabahan, natatakot din sa aming kaligtasan, sa aming health. Ano? Ano ba kayong mensahe sa gobyerno?
Ayan, sa tuloy-tuloy po ng panawagan namin, suportahan yung aming kusinang bayan para sa taong bayan din ng komunidad. Hindi po kami mamamatay sa sakit, kundi mamamatay kami sa gutom. Kung hindi makakakain sa loob ng 3 bisis sa isang araw.
Ikot-ikot kami. Oh, social distancing kayo!
Kayo naglinig kayo. Oh, social! Biskwit, mga biskwit.
Sa tingin ko talaga, ang major na kahinaan ng gobyernong to compared sa ibang bansa, mass testing talaga. Kasi ilagay mo lang sila sa isang kulungan nang hindi mo alam kung may sakit sa loob o wala. Kasi ang quarantine, it will serve its purpose without any test. Ako ay nasa middle class. Pero ako ay isang freelancer. Ang sweldo ko ay nakabatay sa aking produksyon.
Ano yun, man?
Relief mula sa barangay. Yun yung kalagayan ko, pero sa loob ng isang buwan, isang beses pa lang ako nakakuha ng relief goods.
Mukhang 15 or 14. Nakatulata.
Sana lang yung mga mas nangangailangan, hindi 1 month din yung tagal ng nakuha nila. Sa ganitong lockdown, nasa loob ng bahay ka lang. Hindi lang ako, karamihan ng mga kaibigan ko, mga kapwa artist, karamihan nasa loob ng bahay. Tapos, tinitingnan mo ano ba yung mga positibong nagaganap despite ng merong lockdown. So, ako, nakikita ko talagang isang positibo ay yung pagsulpot ng mga sining na makabuluhan sa forma at saka sa content. So, meron akong isang grupong sinasamahan. Ito yung Asian People's Music. Grupo to ng mga progressive musicians sa loob ng ASEAN. May isang musikero na bahagi na sa Pilipino, si Joseph, bahagi ng Village Idiots, ay lumikha rin ng kanyang sariling pyesa. At ito yon.
Pagkatapos nito, babalik lang ba tayo sa normal?
Kung lumabas ka sa loob ng bahay, ang makikita mo sa kalsada ay ang mga taong parating may hawak ng karton, may mga banners ng gutom na kami, no mask, no entry. So, puro ganun ang nakikita mong imahe. Text sa karton, sa papel, or saan pwedeng sulatan. Based dun sa nakikita kong yun, pumasok sa idea ko, bakit hindi gawa ng lyrics? Gamitin yung imahe na yun ng letra. So, ayun yung ginawa namin. At okay rin naman sa kanila yon.
Pagkatapos nito, balik lang ba sa dating gawin? Sa marahas na takbo ng buhay, puno ng takot at pangamba, iwawasto ang liko-likong daan, isisigaw ang ating panawagan, mas maayos na lipunan pagkatapos nito.
Nagre-raise kami ng question dun sa kantang yun. Yung kanta ng lyrics ay, pagkatapos nito, hahayaan na lang ba natin ganito tayo? Kami, nire-raise namin yung question kasi itong krisis na to ay naglantad kung anong klaseng lipunan ang meron tayo. Mararamdaman to ng gobyerno ang galit ng tao kapag magtuloy-tuloy na ganito. At tingin namin, ako personally ulit, tingin ko ay hindi dapat mangyari na at kailangan na natin manindigan.
Mas maayos na lipunan pagkatapos nito. Babangon tayo pagkatapos nito. Babangon tayo pagkatapos nito.
So hello, yep, that's a short video. So currently, we're still here in the Philippines. The government is still documenting about 1,900 cases each day. It peaked to around 4,000 couple of months back, but there could probably be more cases because I guess those figures were largely dependent on the number of tests the government can do. And we don't really have much testing facilities. And compared to other Asian countries, let's say like Vietnam, Thailand, South Korea, probably up to a certain extent Malaysia, um, you don't need to display symptoms to be tested. I mean, the idea is once you have contact with someone who's positive with COVID, then in other countries, that's enough reason to be tested. But here in the Philippines, the problem has always been that you need to have fever, you need to have coughing, you need to display the symptoms to be tested. And I think that was really a very, very big mistake because they didn't factor in the proof that COVID is also can have asymptomatic symptoms. And depending on the well-being and the capacity, of each individual, it will manifest in different ways. So I guess that kind of problem continues. And in the video that you've seen, the approach of the government was largely militaristic. You know, you can get arrested if you don't wear a mask, and you'll be thrown in some kind of makeshift jails where the chances of you getting COVID in that makeshift jail is higher, which is really just, which really doesn't make sense. There was an attempt during that time to curtail freedom of assembly, but I guess at a certain point, the government wasn't successful in that area because still a lot of protest actions happen with proper protocols. I guess it's quite fun to actually attend a protest action where there's proper social distancing, and the people around you is as paranoid as you, but at the same time really just concerned with what's happening, and wears a mask, wears face shields, reminds you to stay away or to establish some kind of new greetings where you'll hit each other's elbows or touch each other's shoes just to greet other activists. So yes, I guess that's the current case with COVID here in the Philippines. I hope there are questions and inquiries.
I appreciate the work that you've done, and I worked in the Philippines from 2004 to 2007 on a program improving English language teaching in Mindanao in the 3 conflict-affected regions. And so I left a lot of my heart as a worker in the Philippines. I have friends there. I'm wondering, is the recording going to be at all available to participants if we could forward it on to interested people? I know with my project, I work with a person involved in community radio. In our own project, work with universities in Mindanao, and Notre Dame University in Cotabato City, the Ateneo in Zamboanga, and I'm just wondering if some of my friends there might be interested in you getting this program out about your good work. I did produce a number of videos about the project work we did. We were in 1,000 classrooms in Mindanao with audio to help people learn to speak English. And anyway, it was not a grassroots program like your own, which I greatly admire. Ours was government to government assistance. So it had all of the baggage that goes together with that, and the caveats about the politics of that, of course, we don't need to talk about that now, but it was, I thought, a very useful project. And there are videos on YouTube under my own channel, which if you found them relevant, you'd be welcome to distribute further. But I just wanted to praise you for your good work that you're doing. There is a group here in the US that I'm familiar with and have been on the board of for a while that was called One Media Projector Per Teacher, which tried to use video for Ebola education in Liberia and other places, and they've been serving agricultural development worker and health worker training using mobile projectors. And there's a guy who's very interested in that work. You might be interested in communicating with it at some stage. But congratulations on the good work. I'll stay tuned. Also, I'm a Media Burn veteran. My work is held at Media Burn. Thank you very much. I did a piece on the culture of Brazil at one point, that's in your archive. Thank you. So we've done business together. Nice to see you again, Media Burn.
Yeah,
Yes,
thanks for that feedback, Stuart.
Yeah, and this recording will be available. It'll take maybe a day or two for us to edit it and upload it. But yeah, we definitely want as many people as possible to see it. And especially given that where King and Egbert are, it's early morning, and we know that it's probably not easy for anyone there to attend. We hope that many more will watch via the recording.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I was interested in the movement to supply food to people. Is that a grassroots movement of, it looked like mostly women? And
Yes.
how do they do that? And how is that, who organizes that?
Yes, I mentioned earlier that there was a spontaneous action of that in that community because the people were feeling hungry. And as a response in social media, people wanted to donate. So the government, on one hand, wants to scare people from holding protest actions. Yep, some were arrested, but it was really quite a different feeling that time because there were many contributions coming in online for the bail of the people who are arrested. Even celebrities and superstars, were quick to, okay, how many were they? Probably I can bail out 3 of them. So, of course, the government wasn't very happy with that kind of reaction because they wanted to scare people from holding actions like that. And after that, there was an influx of, they needed to establish a kitchen to be able to distribute food properly. And from what I know, that kind of community kitchen still happens. Yeah, it's not as big because many people are in the community are already finding some kind of work, and there's a bit of easing with the lockdown. But at least there's still one community kitchen in that area. Yes, yeah, like you, Julia, it was really a fantastic feeling seeing the people helping each other and distributing food in the community.
Yeah, we've had similar initiatives here in Indonesia as well. In Yogyakarta, the city where I live, and in Jakarta, people opening up Instagram accounts on the name of their kitchens, and then people can give donations, and basically they start cooking, and then the food is distributed out to those most in need. And one of our colleagues at EngageMedia, Pitra, has also been involved in one of these kitchens, which was in her area. The area where I am in, there is no such a kitchen, but in one of our colleagues was also involved. So it's the same. It's through Instagram. People donate, because in Indonesia, a couple of dollars already buys you a couple of kilos of rice and vegetables. So it's really to help those that are unable to gather any income because of the lockdowns, mostly street sellers or parking people, who arrange the parking, but the mall is closed, so there's nobody parking. They have no money, they have no bank accounts. So for those improvised community kitchens were really helpful getting through some of the heavier lockdowns in April, early May, that period.
I guess if there are no more questions about the film, let's move on to videoforchange.org, the Impact Toolkit, and I'm handing it over to Egbert.
Yeah, thank you, King. I'll try to keep it short, as we're also, I think it's 10 to 9 or 10 to wherever you are. So the Video for Change network is, EngageMedia is one of its members. It's a network that tries to catalyze the use of video for human rights, social justice, and environmental change. It was founded in 2012 here in Yogyakarta, where I am now, when basically a couple of organizations working with video but using different approaches got together and decided that, you're doing witnessing videos, you're doing community journalism, you are with participatory video, but we have so much in common, yet we all sort of struggle in our own niches. So isn't there a name for us, or couldn't there be something that unites all of us, even though we have the different approaches? And that's where that thinking started, and that's where the term Video for Change was then taken. It wasn't coined, it was already there, but it was taken up by these 12 members back then in an effort to start a network together. Now, over the period, it has grown. We're currently 18 members. And as King said, the different approaches, they're all represented in our network. So we have those using witnessing videos, like Eyewitness, who's more into human rights offenders by military regimes. There's Videre and Witness that are doing similar work. Witness is quite big in the US, as you all know. There's people using participatory video, particularly inside Share, who has seeded many indigenous community in becoming capable of raising their own voices through participatory video. There's the community journalism, mostly video volunteers in India, and Bet Salem, who's working in the occupied territories in Israel, or and using a camera project there for people to film their daily reality under Israeli and military oppression. And then there's the Video for Change, mostly empowering others and training. EngageMedia fits in that category, as does Picture People. So within the network, we have various different approaches, but what unites us all is that very engaged practice, always working with and co-creating with the affected communities and taking that holistic approach on how we look at impact, and basically we try to maximize the collective learning. We share resources, we share experience between members, and we're trying to build spaces for those who are interested in using video as a tool for change, for them to get knowledge. So, and our website videoforchange.org is such a space where especially King has written some very useful resources, which are just basic knowledge and skills anybody can use, and we've been getting lots of views on those sort of resources, so we know there is a need for them. But also we have more background information about the ethics around Video for Change and other things. So some of the main goals of the network are, if you could move to that, King, is first is to build mutual support and exchange. Here you see a picture of us in South Africa, where we had a convening last year. So we're trying to get together as a network and share what we are doing, support each other, exchange knowledges, exchange networks, and that way we all become strengthened because of our membership in the Video for Change network. Second, we support projects and the collaborations. So all of the organizations try to support existing movements that are there. We, as EngageMedia, are currently in talks with Greenpeace, for instance, to help them support a movement for labor rights and environmental rights. We will see a video later on where you see another member, Freedom Film Network, supporting a project for better health facilities in remote areas of Malaysia. So we all support lots of these projects and collaborations through our knowledge and platforms that we have. And there also the video.engagemedia.org, our video platform also comes in there. Next is that we also try to expand and influence the field. So we have a Twitter account where we regularly give updates, network updates, what all our members are doing, things that are happening in the field, so that more and more people will know about Video for Change. And we have been noticing that we sometimes come across individual filmmakers who feel, finally, I feel there's something that represents me, that they also felt alone, just like the members who founded it in 2012, they all felt they're working in their own niches. And now there is something like Video for Change, because the gap between the feature length documentaries, which usually have bigger budgets, even have budgets to do impact producing, et cetera, but there's all these other people on the ground working video who often have minimal budgets. So who's representing them? And Video for Change hopes to be that platform or that network that can represent them. And finally, we try to build the reputation of Video for Change. So it's not just people working in the fringes having little impact and it's amateuristic. No, we really try to show that with a good approach and working with communities, real change can happen. And here's an example in the Media Impact Funders, a big report that they put out about decoding media impact. Our director wrote an article in there, and we have been publishing regularly in other platforms as well to sort of build that reputation and explain people also what Video for Change actually is and what it entails. And yeah, the central idea within Video for Change is really about impact, how to define it, how to measure it, how to evaluate it, and all these questions around impact. And I think one of the big questions is also who gets to decide what the impact is. Is impact really only about what you report back to your funder? Well, we hope it is not. So these discussions are very important to decide what impact means to different people. And it should be very clear to all those involved in a video initiative how they envision that their participation in that video initiative is going to have an impact maybe on a greater good or maybe on their personal lives, and how do they foresee that impact? And are those discussions happening so that everybody who is involved is really aware of what their participation entails? A few illustrations on the next image that shows you some of the discussions around impact. All four of these images you could see as representing impact. If you look at left up, something hits something else that then hits something else, and then movement happens. An example in the US of that is maybe the Poor People's Movement, if some of you know it. We've had talks with Peter Kinoy, who's a senior filmmaker there, and his video work is really trying to support the Poor People's Movement by giving more voice, more agency to younger people involved in that movement and getting the message of the movement out there. So the work he does then trickles on and other people's, and then it has an impact later on. We see Miley Cyrus there on a wrecking ball, I think it's called. That's more just your boom, flying in and an instant impact. An example in the US, again, could be Blackfish, about the orcas and their livelihoods in those theme parks, that single movement, single movie.
I think he's frozen.
I think, yes, I think Egbert is having connectivity issues.
Well, if
Yeah.
you sort of know what you maybe be able to.
Yes. I guess. Anyway, I'll attempt to continue. But after this slide, we'll be screening one of the films, The Story of Kam Agong. But basically, the one on the left bottom, yeah, creating waves. So I guess one example of this would be the digital rights films that we produced in Myanmar more than a year ago. So basically, the idea is, to elicit impact through digital awareness by producing those films where other internet and communications technology organizations screen those films to build awareness about digital rights in a country like Myanmar, where the internet basically is Facebook. So imagine just the problems with rights, digital rights, and privacy, surrounding that situation. And then, of course, the lower right would be
King,
yes,
I'm back.
yes. Okay,
Thank
is
you.
back. I attempted
Electricity
to.
blew up. We're in Indonesia, so the electricity. We just have a blackout here. But I'm now on my battery laptop and I'm on my phone, so we can continue this as long as I have some juice in my laptop. Yeah, bottom right is more. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
This is Indonesia. Bottom right is you nourish things and you let things grow. So it's really about strengthening maybe existing movements who are already having a base of support. They already have some agency, and then you could introduce the use of video to that movement in adding another layer to their work and strengthening them in increasing their agency and increasing their ability to maybe reach further audiences. So then your video is really nurturing something that is there, and it's not a standalone thing. So just showing you, and there's many more metaphors that we could use to describe how impact can work. And a lot of our work is having these discussions with activists, with filmmakers, for them to become better aware of what role their video could play within a campaign or within a social movement or within efforts to maybe change laws or change regulations, et cetera, et cetera. And every type of issue, every type of movement needs a different type of video. And it's just very important to start with this thinking at the start of any project and not make it an afterthought that, oh, let's make a film, it's an important issue, and then you make the film. And then once you're done with the film, that's when you start thinking about what are we going to do with this film, which we think is not the right approach. You should really think about that from the onset. To wrap up this discussion about impact and thinking about it, we have a short film that from Freedom Film Network together with King. It's called The Story of Kam Agong. It's a very powerful film itself, but this impact video shows a little bit about the impact that film has made. Kam Agong was the mother of Agnes, who is the initiator, who you see here in the picture. Her mother died giving birth in a hospital in Sarawak, which is a very remote area in Malaysia. She died due to excessive bleeding, and that could have been prevented easily had there been proper facilities in that hospital and had there been better educated doctors. So basically, because of the poor facilities, her mother died, even though government had promised more investments and more support for these remote hospitals. The fact that the mother of Agnes, Kam Agong, died there, showed that wasn't really happening. And they started this video and this big campaign that has been running for years, is still running today, trying to give voice to the voiceless and demand their right for better healthcare. Now, this short video is an interview with Anna from Freedom Film Network, also talking about the journey of that film and how what kind of impact they were able to achieve and how that journey has been. So let's take a look at that video. It's a short video, it's 4 minutes, but it gives you a good insight in what impact can mean for different videos within different types of campaigns. So Thijs, if you could start the film and then we could talk about it afterwards.
And that's one of the ways people need to know how bad it is, the detention without trial, and then the torture and other misuse of power remains the same.
I want to introduce the festival director, Anna Ha. Can you give a hand to Anna?
One good case example of impact maybe is a video that we did called The Story of Kam Agong. Kam Agong is a lady, 44 years old, who was pregnant with her 8th child, but when she delivered in the hospital, in the Lawas hospital in Sarawak, there was a lot of problem, and she actually died in the end due to the operation and postpartum hemorrhage.
Pucuk si gaga tengah lawas pangane umah kami daya 3 jam mayat tanak. Panga tidak lak na pelaba masih tak dalan lebih kurang lokmon na mula esok.
Agnes and Lawrence applied for this grant. They are the children, daughter and son-in-law of Kam Agong. One of the big impact is actually on themselves. They were trained and empowered to not only know how to make a film, but also to be spokesperson of this issue. So Agnes and Lawrence actually took this case to court and won. And ever since then, they have been campaigning for a better hospital in Lawas and better equipment and healthcare for the mothers there, but not having the impact that they want.
Pangapulot la kay manangkes. Yamo masih tanay na niso.
So in the end, that we actually kind of produce as an impact activists who know about how to make films for advocacy and also to be spokesperson.
Tell them to watch and ask them why this is happening, why they have not done anything yet.
Screenings are very important because that's where you meet, you don't know who you're going to meet. Things spring out from there. They might suggest something. It was not so easy to directly get a meeting with the minister. So we had to go through many channels, and one of which included doing screenings with the wives, because the wives had a society or a club. So since I couldn't get the husband, so we got the wives, and of course the wives were, very touched by the film. And then I guess they spoke to the ministers or their husbands about it. And then finally we managed to get the handover our petition, the signature, to the health minister in parliament one day.
Natamiak pabaya kami na nantambang man. Ang kunang yung trayo ko piyam do rumah sakit dalawas na wanang kaya amula talon taon.
So long term, I think the issue is most probably how to keep the pressure going, and that is a challenge with. The truth is actually the hospital has been promised and the budget had been allocated, but because of I don't know, bureaucracy, corruption, etc., and maybe lack of will, it never really got built. That's why I say it's important to already decide who would be the main people who would advocate and take this on in the long term. So in this case, it was Agnes and Lawrence, the filmmakers, and they have actually decided that they will go back, uproot themselves from Kuala Lumpur, where they're staying, and go back to Lawas town, where the hospital is, and to live there, start a business at the same time, keep on engaging the locals and giving updates and pressuring the government to make sure the hospital is built.
Yeah, that's the story of Kam Agong, and I think it's a great example showing that working on impact is never short term. It is long term. We see there that Agnes and Lawrence even moved to Sarawak themselves. They are still living there now. It shows that very engaged practice, working directly with communities, with people on the ground. But it also shows that other side of doing the screenings, doing that advocacy, and actually after years and years of struggle, getting government to acknowledge it and actually start implementing policy towards improving healthcare. And we have similar types of videos also in Indonesia, more on remote islands, that we also support and see how that is going. So if there's any questions on this, or I can also quickly give give a bit of an introduction to the Video for Change Impact Toolkit, which is a toolkit that we have developed, which helps Video for Change practitioners design for and evaluate their social impact. It's available in English and also in Bahasa Indonesia, which is the language here in Indonesia, and also in Malaysia, people that speak Malay, and the Singaporean audiences, and maybe even in Mindanao, some of the people living in South Philippines who have some knowledge of Bahasa can also access it. So it's available in those two languages. It's not a guide on how to make a video, so you won't learn how to shoot or to edit. It also doesn't have very long explorations on how you can crowdsource funding and how you can get funding. So it's really about how you can advance positive social change and create impact as the result of following pathways, taking that journey and taking that holistic view of making impact. So very much process orientated and not so much oriented towards creating a product or creating a certain end goal or a certain amount of hits or views, etc. I think it's important here to show there's some underlying values and methods that we that we propagate for and always educate people on. One is having an impact statement. So an impact statement basically tells you and everybody involved in your project or initiative how this initiative can contribute to positive change and lasting social impact. So what's realistically to be expected of this video is what your impact statement will tell you. Second is the power analysis. It's very important to do a proper power analysis to make sure that your video is not only strengthening the voices of already powerful groups, or that you're only, you're not really changing anything because the story that you're telling is already the dominant story. So, and how are these power balances and where do you fit in? And linked to that is also the notion of participation and inclusion. Where and how can we build participation into a process and empower people in an effective way, and also be aware that including some might exclude others, and participation might not be best at all parts of the process. Making editing participatory can mean your editing process can take a very long time. Whereas, for instance, during your research, making that very participatory and having people from the affected community actually do the research can be a very powerful tool. So also think about participation and inclusion in various parts of your project. Then accountability and transparency. We need to be responsible and respectful to our communities, and we do that via accountability and transparency so that they know why are we bringing cameras here, why are we filming things, who will be able to see this, and what can be the effect on people that see this, and how can bringing video into a community affect what is happening in that community. And it's really the notion that by bringing in a project, it will engage with that reality and it will also change that reality. So being very aware of that, that sort of dynamic that takes place. And finally, risk management, making sure that you are aware of all the risks implied physically to you, but also long-term for a community, and what risks are there for those involved, and how can we manage those risks. This is the website here, toolkit.videoforchange.org. That is the English version of the toolkit. It's written in a way that you don't have to read it from A to Z. You can sort of go to the section wherever you would like to go. We can show you a very short video now, a 2-minute video that introduces the toolkit. And I think after that, we still have some time for questions, and maybe questions around impact, or maybe around King's earlier story. So let's close the sort of presentation part with this short video. It's 2 minutes on introducing that impact toolkit, and then let's see if there's any questions or discussions. So Thijs, go ahead.
Video is a powerful tool to challenge social and environmental injustice. Today, millions of people have access to cameras and online platforms to share their videos with the world. But making change is not the same as making a video. We are EngageMedia and the Video for Change Network, a global group of video makers, activists, journalists, and human rights advocates developing video as a social change tool. The Video for Change Impact Toolkit gathers the knowledge and experience of seasoned practitioners to show you how to design your video initiative to create social impact. From research to training to distribution and beyond, it gives you the tips, tools, and resources to effectively contribute to change. The toolkit is intended for established Video for Change practitioners, as well as activists and nonprofit organizations using or thinking about using video. The toolkit focuses on those working with short video, often with limited budgets, and where safety is a key concern. Whether you want to achieve something small or big, the Video for Change Impact Toolkit can help you. The toolkit offers ethics and methods to ensure your initiative does no harm to you or your collaborators and prepare you for the unexpected, both positive and negative. Our approach explores how you can create impact at every stage of the process, from research to production, to outreach and engagement. And we emphasize participation by and co-creation with affected communities. You will find real-life case studies and impact stories throughout the toolkit. We look forward to hearing your story.
So maybe back to you, Sarah, or maybe there's questions or comments.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy if someone else has a question, you can interrupt me because I want to hear from you all more than me. But I have sort of two things. One short comment was I thought it was really interesting and powerful in the story of Kamagong when it was stated that they finally were able to get the video seen when they went to the wives of the ministers. And I think that that's often a very crucial step, is figuring out who is the gatekeeper to like where you want to get. I think that there's often, it's like an under recognized portion of this work that's like very, very important, that it may not be the obvious person that's your key to getting to accomplishing what you need. Probably no way to respond to that, more of a comment, but I also would like to talk and think more about measuring impact and the different types of impacts that you guys look for and see.
Yeah, we actually in the toolkit we provide a list of indicators in the evaluation section that also helps to look at when you're doing research, you could actually already have an impact. And I mentioned that example of, for instance, letting people from the community be part of that research. So teaching them, for instance, how to design simple surveys, or teaching them how they conduct interviews, or how some public speaking skills for them, or getting them to find out existing policies that actually are there that maybe they weren't aware of. And by involving them in that research, you're actually already empowering that community. And then it's important to also make note of those changes and really see them as part of the process. And the same then goes for when you're going into maybe production phases. Can they also play a part? Is there some capacity building that you can do that they, even if it's the catering, can they do all the catering, for instance, if you're going to do shooting? Or can they maybe also be cameramen or soundmen? Or can they, what role can they play? And always be on the lookout. And by doing it, also then acknowledging that you're doing it, writing down your experiences so that you can make that part of your impact story. So those are some simple examples of how you have this holistic approach to impact, instead of only looking at, we have this video now, and now the policy has to change, or the factory has to close, or the river has to get clean, which are, of course, those are the goals you're working towards, but there's so many other steps in between where you could have an impact. And it's very important to be aware of those, and then to be able to measure those and to strategize for them. So I think that's part of that story, Sarah.
And of course, also, the film or the production itself can have a tremendous impact with the filmmaker. I mean, we don't have that many video activists or activists who are, successful in doing transition to filmmaking and have the capacity to, make really good films. There are instances where a filmmaker who is just, suddenly became interested with an issue, but through, interaction with the community, interaction with other organizations, the filmmaker has certain transformations within that, in the end, the filmmaker becomes an active advocate of the issue itself.
Yeah, I think that's just so meaningful. I think that so often people who are making videos or films are, they're so focused on just making that thing, because that in itself is such a big thing to do. But the fact that you have this holistic view of it is just really, really important.
Yeah, I have an Indonesian friend here who calls some filmmakers, she calls it sort of hit and run, that approach. So you go in, you make that film, and then basically you run away again, and then you're going for maybe your festival circuit, or you're trying to promote it on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. And even though the intentions are good, it's yeah, we would question like how honest are you in working with that community and making that film, and is there despair, or are there problems, are there really just material for you to work with? It should be more than that. But as King was saying, within feature length documentary, that awareness has also grown tremendously over the years, and there's much more a concern for that. But again, that really grassroots approach that we are advocating for is still very different from, say, feature length documentary.
Julia, did you have a question?
Yes, is Media Burn going to have many of the Video for Change videos in your archive?
I don't know. I think maybe they're really doing a good job archiving already, but I think we should talk further about how we can continue to exchange and collaborate and promote each other's work across the planet, across continents.
Well, it would be wonderful. I mean, it's just, there's a way in which it's such a pleasure to have a discussion tonight from people who are working in a different part of the world, and it opens up my eyes to a lot of things that are going on that I didn't know about before. So I'm appreciative for the chance to hear about all of this.
I agree with you,
You're on
Julia.
mute. You're muted.
I'm not muted.
We can hear you.
Oh, sorry.
We can hear you.
I just say I agree with you. Sarah and I talked about it, about the other members and what I understand what it is now, better, obviously. And I think it's a great thing for us to do. And maybe one of you in the process can help us, Egbert, identify and get in touch with certain people, with other people in the group. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Yeah, we've really appreciated this opportunity to learn about your work and connect with you, and to sort of continue to become more and more part of the global community of people doing this kind of important work using media. So I want to thank you both so much for coming, for putting all this time into creating your presentations, and for joining us in the morning. And thank you so much also to Tice for handling all the video and making everything run smoothly. And thank you to everyone for coming. It was wonderful to see you all, and I'm so glad you were also engaged. And yes, we will send out the link soon for where you can share this recording with other people. And I hope that we will see you all on December 3rd for Southside Home Movie Project with filmmaker Ashley O'Shea. So good night, everyone.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you for joining. Thank you all.